This week, we traveled to Savannah, Georgia to tour Hyundai's newest EV factory, Hyundai Motor Group Metaplant America, or HMGMA for short. When fully operational, the Metaplant will produce 300,000 Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis EVs and hybrids each year, with potential expansion to 500,000 units. This isn't just a Hyundai endeavor, it's a full industrial ecosystem with 5 Hyundai affiliates on site and at least 18 suppliers supporting operations across the region. One standout feature is the scale of automation. 475 robots in the weld shop, Boston Dynamics robot dogs inspecting welds, parking robots that lift vehicles and move them along the testing line, and a layout built around human-centered design, including natural lighting, wood floors to reduce physical stress, and team centers right on the shop floor. This facility is more than just a car factory, it's a glimpse into how Hyundai is shaping the future of mobility in America. Later in this video, you'll hear from Steve Center, COO of Kia America, and Jose Muñoz, Global President and CEO of Hyundai Motor Company, about their strategies and their thoughts on the tariffs announced this week by President Trump. Now let's take a closer look inside the plant.
The property we're on is almost 3,000 acres, which is larger than Tybee Island. So if you're not familiar with Tybee Island, that is our local beach. Pretty large size island. So, in comparison to that, we are seeing a bigger property here. So welcome to stamping. This is where the process begins to transform metal into a vehicle. So the journey begins with flat metal blanks from Hyundai steel that are stamped into car parts, like the roof, sides, and fender. There are 5 stamping machines in tandem. Each piece endures a combined 6,800 tons of pressure. So you can imagine how much weight that would be. A robot with vision systems checks every panel, and each piece is stamped with a small Hyundai logo. The parts are moved into their storage area by robots called AGVs. They do have a mind of their own, but are very well designed to complete their set processes. They are then ready to be picked up by another AGV when they are needed to be transported to the next stage of the process, welding. So we're coming up to welding here soon. We can see the sign ahead, and you can see the car parts that have been stamped out as we go by. All right, so when welding, stamped parts come together to form a vehicle body, like assembling a 3D jigsaw puzzle. AGVs deliver 90% of the parts to their exact positions at the right time. For 90% of the process, robots use resistance spot welding to join sheet metal. The remaining 5% uses MIG welding for detailed joints. At the end of the welding process, it begins to look like a car. This is called body in white. The body in white is transported by another AGV to the final inspection line where our Metapros inspect each weld to ensure precision. The weld shop alone uses 475 robots, playing a vital role in forming our vehicles. Metapros, however, play an extremely vital role as the key inspectors. Okay, so something I want us to notice as we come through here is if you look up, you will see some skylights. They provide natural light for the environment. They are possible because we have no exhaust systems overhead, making noise and taking up space. Here, those systems are hidden under concrete, keeping the space cleaner and quieter for our Metapros. Another example of our human-centered design approach. So here's our workstation. So you can see these wood panels coming up. This is where Metapros can relax on their breaks, have team meetings, and eat lunch if they like, all conveniently located right next to where they work. The final inspection is done by a Boston Dynamics robot called Spot. He will be up here on the left. He takes images of specific welds, and the computer compares the image to the standard. When it passes, it is moved to the very large robot that lifts the body in white up one level to transport conveyor. Then makes its way by bridge to the paint shop. So we can see there's one spot here, and then one on the other side of the body in white. So right now, when we look into our right, we are heading into our general assembly shop. This is the last stage of the process. So of course, we have our stamping, welding, painting, and now general assembly. So the general assembly is where the paint and shell becomes a fully functioning vehicle, the heart of the Metaplant. This is where parts from Globus, Transys, and other suppliers arrive just in time. We like to say this is where the magic happens. After the painted bodies are transported over the bridge, the doors are removed robotically and sent to their own line to be assembled. They will rejoin the exact same vehicle on the final line or are reattached by robots. So you can notice, again, the AGV traffic. They are programmed to stop if they detect anything in their way. They carry parts from the suppliers to the assembly line, and they also move the vehicles from one line to another. So again, we just have to wait for our AGV traffic to clear. Again, they program very well to detect movement. So you can see as we approach it, it knows to stop. As we turn down the center of the general assembly shop, it removes the vehicle body from the conveyor system and lowers it onto a trim line 1, where it begins its journey to become a car. Our MetaPros begin by assembling the wiring harnesses, sound deadening features, and build up the interior along this line. If you look to your left, you can see vehicles on the second line. They are closer to being a completed vehicle. If we are lucky, we can see the robots installing the seats and putting the wheels, also on our left. So there's a couple of them doing it right now. If you look, that one, kind of going by it. It's okay. As we progress down the aisle, look again at the skylights and the vaulted roof. It almost looks like a work of art rather than a vehicle plant. Again, this is to create an aesthetically pleasing and pleasant place for our MetaPros to work. It is extremely important for our MetaPros to have a safe and comfortable work environment. Again, see how quiet it is? Compared to a normal manufacturing facility, this is very quiet. Because of this, the MetaPros are not required to wear hearing protection. If you also notice, you can see it right here on our right, or you can see it on the left, is the moving conveyor MetaPros are standing on. It's made of wood, which has more give than metal and reduces the physical impact on the MetaPros as they go through their workday. The vehicles at this point are on platforms that move up and down, so they're at optimal height for the MetaPro to work while minimizing any potential strain. The heavy lifting is all done robotically. And as we approach the final part of this line, look up and you can see the skateboard. Automatically sent over from Mobis. It includes a suspension, battery pack, and electric motors. It will be lowered from the conveyor and married to the body. One more stage and becoming a vehicle.
We were told production is on track to begin by the end of this year, with the potential to scale up to 500,000 units if demands and operations allow. Hyundai also confirmed that the plant will work closely with several nearby suppliers, and that it's part of a broader effort to localize EV production, particularly as the policy environment around EVs continues to evolve. While at the Metaplant, Jimmy Butters chatted with Steve Center, Chief Operating Officer and Executive Vice President for Kia America, for Automotive News' Daily Drive podcast. They talked about how this facility fits into Kia's future US production plans, and how the brand is adapting to shifting EV demand, and how they're thinking about flexibility in evolving trade and policy landscape.
Does it feel a little incongruous to open an EV plant at this time?
Not at all. When we were speaking before, I said the fire's already been lit. So that market is moving, and we're selling EVs in markets that are required, and we're selling EVs in markets that aren't required, states that is. So we're going to follow the market. That's our ultimate North Star.
Absolutely. So the first Kia is going to come out of this plant next year in 2026. I think you're already making the EV9 and EV6 at West Point in Georgia. So I know you probably can't tell me what vehicle it's going to be, but what's the thinking about the type of vehicles? Is the market leaning more towards smaller, more affordable vehicles, or maybe a hybrid?
Well, I think if you consider Kia's lineup, we've got two lineups, an EV lineup, internal combustion. We've got sedans, we've got SUVs, we've got small, we've got medium and large. I'm not going to tell you what we're going to build here, but it's probably the largest segment in the industry.
Okay, that sounds like a compact or mid-sized crossover, but I could be misreading that.
Absolutely.
The president says a lot of things about tariffs. On Monday, he sounded like he said that Hyundai Group won't have tariffs because of all the investments in the U.S. Is that the thinking within the company, or is the assumption that if there are widespread auto tariffs that Hyundai and Kia will be caught in those as well?
I would say that that's a very dynamic aspect of the market and trade right now. In our case, we've studied this every which way, and we've got our business plan, and we're going to deal with whatever comes our way. That's all I can really say about it.
I guess until the policies are spelled out next week, it's
right.
hard
I was
to tell.
saying before that while we're probably one of the most regulated or over-regulated industries there are, and no one likes regulation, no one likes excessive regulation, but we're finding that stable regulations we like, even if you don't like that regulation. And you can't build a factory like this that took 5-6 years of planning before we got to this point, with regulations constantly changing. These are long-term capital commitments.
It's hard to get that stability in a polarized democracy where parties with different views can exchange power.
The full interview will be linked below. This week, the Trump administration announced a 25% tariff on vehicles imported into the US. We were there in Georgia just as the news was breaking, and during a media roundtable, Hyundai Motor Company President and CEO Jose Muñoz was asked directly about it. In his response, he pointed out that the company's investment in the US began well before the tariff discussions, and that the Savannah Metaplant's timing couldn't be better. Here's a portion of what he had to say.
Well, we will see. I thought the meeting on Monday was really good. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for our executive chair, Mr. Chung, to be in the White House and presenting before President Trump this mega project, right? So I'm sure you know the story, but I really would like to summarize for everybody. But so far, including part of the investment today, $20.5 billion of investment since the arrival to America back in 1986. And then another $21 billion announced in the next 4 years. This is something remarkable and unbelievable. And today is super special day for us because we are celebrating the grand opening of, we call it the Metaplant, HMG-MA plant, which is before we start already expanded to a second plant. So you remember the first phase was 300,000 capacity. Second phase is going to be another 200,000, so for a total of 500,000, and 2 battery plants. This is something very important. So it would be nice if definitely President Trump's statement was confirmed. We will see. I'm hearing that in a few minutes there is going to be a kind of a meeting where President Trump is going to talk about tariffs. But what I can tell you is that we took the decision about investing in this plant during the first Trump administration, and then this plant couldn't come at a better time than now, because definitely all the cars that we will produce here are going to be exempted from any tariff in case there are tariffs for South Korean produced vehicles.
Just follow up on that?
Yeah, please follow up.
But you still import more than 1 million vehicles today, right, to the U.S. How easily can you absorb that if you do have tariffs on those?
Well, it is not easy for anybody if there are tariffs, but I don't want to just put some scenarios on something that nobody really knows, right? So if the tariffs, we will have to do what we do all the time. So what we do all the time is that we try to look into the entire supply chain and very fast try to reaccommodate the suppliers and then the raw materials, etc. If you remember, during the COVID, our company started to do better than others in relative terms. And one of the reasons this happened was because we were more flexible than others, and we were very fast in adjusting, very flexible. So I think this plant, again, is a good example of flexibility. When we started this project, originally, everybody thought, okay, the world is going to be fully electric. We were also thinking that way, but soon we realized that the pace of electrification was not going to be as fast as everybody thought. And then we saw that the hybrid pace was much faster. So then very quickly we decided we're going to produce also hybrid vehicles here. And there is a space, if you visited the plant, which is ready for the second line on the welding shop, etc., which is going to allow us to produce hybrids. So, we've been flexible before, we will be flexible now. So if we have to accommodate for tariffs, we'll do our best to compete like everybody else is doing. However, I must say that considering the potential impact of tariffs for cars produced in Mexico and in Canada, we don't depend almost at all. So really minor production is coming from Mexico, because when we took the decision some years ago to invest in this market, this is the market that we believe was the one that needed the most. And we didn't do it because of incentives or anything. So for us, we saw the opportunity in America. America has become now by far the largest market for the group, representing about 1/3 of our total global sales. And then I couldn't be happier with the decision that we took at the time. So we'll handle new situations as they come.
From the tour of Hyundai's EV plant in Georgia to the conversations with leaders at Kia and Hyundai, this week made one thing clear. The industry is moving forward, but with flexibility at the center of it all. Automakers are adjusting to shifting policies, changing demand, and rising trade tensions, all while trying to scale up EV production in the US. The Savannah Metaplant is a big piece of that effort, and how it performs in the coming years could say a lot about where the market is headed. You can find the full interviews with Steve Center and Jose Muñoz, plus reporting on Hyundai's investments and the latest tariffs at autonews.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.